Saturday morning. Just went out and got a few things for the day. Gonna head down to Virginia Beach area. The wind is kind of on the iffy side, a little bit strong. It's forecasted to be about 9 miles an hour, so kind of on the edge of okay. And I'm gonna head over to my buddy's place. Since I'm staying up here for training, I'm not storing the motor on the back of my car. I've got a friend who lives in town, and he keeps it in his garage for me. So gonna go grab that real quick, and hopefully get down to Virginia Beach. It takes about an hour to get there, maybe a little more. Hopefully traffic's light. Went and picked up the paramotor at my buddy's place. Got her all put on here, and I'm gonna head out to Virginia Beach. See you guys there. So I'm out here at Virginia Beach, really sand bridge area, and if you'll notice on the map here, on the sectional chart, we've got a restricted area. Not sure how well you can see that. Hopefully it'll show up. So I'm right at the edge of the restricted area, just trying to make sure I know where my limit is. Definitely don't want to be there. It's bad juju. So I've got a water tower out here, so if I start flying, I'll keep a look and make sure I don't cross this road area with the water tower. And I'm already here at the beach. I'm going to go down to the south end and start flying down there. Hopefully the wind works out. Oh, and one more thing. If you'll notice down here, we've got Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge. FAA rules say that you should be 2,000 feet above any wildlife refuge. So if I did decide to fly over that, say I was wanting to go down to North Carolina or something, I have to make sure at least I'm 2,000 feet above ground level. You don't really see that in Part 103, but that is the FAA rule. So just got to keep in mind that you can't fly over wildlife refuges unless you're at least 2,000 feet up. So the beach didn't work today, or Saturday, it's still Saturday. I went down there, tried to kite for about an hour or so, but it was really too windy to even do anything. Can't even control the wing on the ground. So pretty miserable, didn't work out. I had a feeling it would go that way. We'll try again tomorrow and see what happens. See you later. Hey everybody, welcome back. So I had a bad time there at the beach, didn't work out for us, so we decided to try another spot, and I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about where your spot choices are. Sometimes I know it's hard to find places to take off, especially if you're somewhere that you're not familiar with or on vacation or somewhere like that. So I figured I'd take a moment and tell you a little bit about how I've been picking my places to fly from. First of all, I'd like to give thanks to Merle, the owner of this area here, who let me come out, Merle and Bob. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting us come out. We had a fantastic time. And they have an airport here. As you can see, there's a strip here. Very nice place. It's well clear of trees and everything. And it's out on the eastern shore of Virginia. It is listed in the airport facilities directory. So you can give them a call or give them an email and contact them if you need to. But the way I typically do it is I look on my sectional chart, which is your aviation map, if you will, and you'll see all kinds of airports listed around. Some of them are towered, some of them are untowered, and some of you may be hesitant to go to some of these places. So for the towered airports, they're all in blue. So you'll see a blue-colored runway usually, or a blue-colored circle, and that means they've got a tower on them. If they're magenta-colored on the sectional, then they're untowered. They're usually Class E airport or Class G airport, and there's no communications that are required for you to be able to get into them. If you see a towered airport with a dotted, segmented line going around it, that's a Class D airport. You can also fly at those, but you do need a radio, and you have to make your arrangements with the air traffic control prior to entering that blue circle on your sectional. So for ease of operation, it's easier most of the time for most of us to just go on to one of those red magenta airports. We'll stop a second, and here I tied on the chase cam. This is the first time I've tried my homemade arrow shaft chase cam, so let's see how it does. And then we'll continue on with our airport talk. There we go, you can see it tracks pretty well. It's not quite as stable as the plastic badminton looking ones that I've seen, so still may end up going with one of those at some point. But you know, this did a pretty good job. The problem I did have is I sat the arrow shaft piece right behind the chute, so I coiled up the line so it wouldn't go anywhere, and then I just sat it literally right in the back of the chute, and I think I should have stuck it underneath so it delayed the pull on it a little earlier. This looks like about the right distance and everything, but it bumped a couple times on the ground when I took off and kind of smacked the camera down, so I did have the camera looking up a little more, and it probably would have caught me and the chute a little better. However, when it bumped on the ground and when I picked it up at the end, the GoPro was aimed down slightly, so maybe I need to tighten the GoPro so it can take a beating, or maybe make it so the arrow doesn't come off the ground quite as early and doesn't have time to bump a few times before I take off. Had a good wind on that takeoff, so I only took probably 15 yards or less of a run before I got off the ground. So it was this pretty early optimal takeoff. Here's the Chesapeake Bay. Beautiful sunset coming up. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We'll go back to the airports. So getting back to using those untowered airports, you can find the magenta circles or magenta lines depending on the runway length. If it's a shorter runway, they'll put a circle there usually, and if it's a longer runway, they'll show the runway depiction on the chart. But there's no radio communications required of you to be at those airports. It may be preferred, but it's not required, so as long as you are willing to stay out of the way, you can pay attention to where everybody's at and find a safe place in the grass or the taxiway, or just ask everybody who's around, if there's anybody, where they mind you being, and you can go set up and take off where you want to, kind of like the Lake Wales Airport down there for Aviator PPG. So once you pick your airport, you can look around all over that sectional and find the airport that seems to work best for you, keeping in mind that the winds of the day that you're going to fly may be important if it's a really skinny area for some reason. And then there are some airports on that sectional that are not charted at all. Well, they're called private, so sometimes you'll see a little circle with no real big information. Sometimes they're actually not on there, but they're in the FAA's database. So sometimes they're on the electronic sectionals, but they're hidden. So anyway, so I found this place. I just looked for some on the Eastern Shore, and it said private airport. However, so here I'm pointing at the ships, by the way. My job is to inspect those ships for the Coast Guard. So I'm a military guy, and I inspect deep draft vessels and tour vessels and things like that. Anyway, back to the airports. These private airports are usually on private land, and a lot of times accompanied by a house or something like that. And if you want to go fly there, you need to contact the person. You obviously can't go step on their land. However, most of these guys, if you build an airport at your house, you kind of like aviation a little bit. You kind of like all things aviation, typically. Sure, there are some less nice folks out there, but most people who are going to have an airport at their home are usually willing to share it with whomever asks, and their airport information is listed either on the AirNav site on the internet or on the sectional. If you've got electronic charts, ForeFlight, iFly GPS, things like that, it'll give you the airport information. You can look up the manager's phone number or email address and just give them a shout and say, hey, I really like to use your place and see if you mind me coming out there. And that's what I did in this case. And Merle, the airport operator, said, yeah, come on out, we'd love to have you, and look forward to meeting you. And so we talked a few times, and the weather last weekend was awful, but it worked out this weekend, and I went and had a fantastic time. It was the most beautiful property and had plenty of space, and there was plenty of people who were interested in the flying. Merle's a pilot herself, and it's just a fantastic place. Saw a lot of neat things, met a lot of great people. So this was the first time I've ever let the motor shut off on me. I shut it off so that I could just have the breeze, but the wind was pushing me a little bit too much north, so I had to start her back up here so I could get back to my landing zone. But here's you're looking south, and the Bay Bridge Tunnel's just ahead of me, and a lighthouse over there on the shoreline. And then to the right is Cape Charles, beautiful little town. You may have seen that a few places earlier in the video if you want to go back and check that out. Just a beautiful little area. It's nice and quiet, and reminiscent of old farmhouses in Virginia, old farmhouse Virginia life type places. Can't speak enough to how beautiful this place is. So if you guys get the chance and you look up some private airports out here and send people, an email, maybe they'll let you come fly in their area. But always make sure you've got permission before you go and do that. I've done that on several occasions. I've had some friends, John, Nate, you know who you are, who were looking for a place to fly, and when they were looking, they said, I don't know if we can fly here or at the soccer fields in town or whatnot. And I said, let me just call this airport here, and sure enough, the private airport nearby let us go fly. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you guys enjoyed the flight, and I'll see you back next time.